Here at the Giver Marketing Network, we don't leave you drifting out in space. We connect you to a coach who will help you build and grow your marketing business. Our process acts as a guide on how to connect with other businesses, maintain good relations, and establish a presence on the Giver Marketing Network. Each member within this collaborative group will have the opportunity to leverage your talent and influence, a true network effect. If you are looking to collaborate on more projects, welcome to the Giver Marketing Network, the most trusted and highest rated collective of specialists on the planet. Here we have a group of like-minded professionals who focus on making valuable introductions and helping each other grow by teaming up. Imagine Upwork meets a network and a coach. The talent collectively includes services like visibility and SEO, creating logos, designing websites, managing social media, outreach messaging, visual storytelling, and much more. Think of what you could do with laser-focused allies, strengthening your business while offering your talent to the entire network. Click near this video for more information.
Welcome, everybody, to the Giver Marketing Network broadcast. Buckle up. Get ready. We're going to be talking about up-leveling your networking. How do you up-level your networking without draining your battery, Christine? How does this happen?
That's not always easy, right? I mean, it takes a lot of energy to get out there and go networking. And for some of us, it just fuels us and we get excited. We walk in the room and like, who do I get to meet today, right? Other people are like, oh, man, I got to go to another networking meeting. Mindset's a good start, right?
Yeah. A little bit of that mindset adjusting periodically, and then some other pieces that we'll talk about that'll just give you some practical tips on how to take your game to that next place that you want to be. And so let's jump right in, Christine. I know people are running around doing different things, building their businesses and organizations, and we're here for you. We want to help you. Even no matter what season we're in, no matter what quarter we're in, we want you to be able to take your business, nonprofit organization, or even your personal brand to that next level. And all of this can be enhanced by networking. And Christine, a lot of people refer to you as the networking diva. Why is that? What's your background? How did you even end up kind of leveraging that as part of your personality? But like, how did you end up leveraging that?
Well, you know, the networking diva, really, that's even the name of my business. I mean, that's how crazy this is. It's an intricate part into who I am and what I love to do. My background is communications, right? So I taught college, I coached a speech and debate team, taught communications courses, right? It's all about building relationships. And actually, when I first got started, I had done teaching. I took some time off, raised my kids, came back, and I was like, okay, well, now what do I want to do? I ended up doing credit card processing, and that is not for me. I'm about building a relationship. And they're like, make 500 phone calls. I'm like, oh, that sounds horrible, right? But I did discover business networking in the process. And that's where it was like, oh, the skies opened up, the sun was shining, and I knew I was in the right space, right? People kept saying, well, can you give me some advice? And it was about communication, it was about marketing, it was about networking. And I was like, I am in my zone right now. This is it. I just knew I was in the right spot. And there became the networking diva. You know, from there, it just exploded with people understanding that building relationships has a huge impact on your business.
And in today's world, it's interesting because even though we might live in a particular city or region, you can now network really well across states or different parts of the world. You can network depending on what your organization, your business is focused on. It might make sense to expand that network without wasting your time, without wasting your resources, without just busy work. So we want to make sure, help people fine tune how they can network without expending all these resources that they could be doing something else with. But let's talk about the importance of networking just right off the bat. I know we have a question that we want to bring up on the screen here in just a second. But if you want to connect with more prospects and power partners, then this training, this resource, this discussion, this expertise dialogue is for you. This is what you want to be. You want to take notes. You want to adjust some things going into the next quarter. And so, are you somebody who wants to connect with more prospects and power partners? Generally, people say yes, but at what cost? So we want to make sure and talk about the opportunity cost, the time it takes, the tools and tips that we can use as well. So if this question pertains to what you're trying to do, if you want to connect with more prospects, power partners, depending on how you build your business, this is for you. So, Christine, what would you say is some of the first couple of things to, at least one thing to consider as you're going into networking mode? Let's call it networking mode.
Networking can be it's a way of life. It's a perspective. It's the way you approach your business with the idea that I want to do business with other people that I know, like, and trust. Right. And so every time you're in a space, the question becomes, who is it that I want to meet? Who do I want to work with? It doesn't have to just be at an official networking event, right? It's seeing the opportunities in front of you. Do you have that entrepreneurial spirit? Do you have that mindset of life is an opportunity? Right.
Does everybody need to network? Is it an important? I mean, what scale of 1 to 10? How important is it to have at least some networking activities in your business plan?
I think it's really important because it's about building the relationships. I mean, you can spend a ton of money on ads, right? I don't want to deal with networking. I just want to run ads. I just want to. Okay, well, then when the ads run out, that's it. You're done.
Yeah, and there's nothing
As
wrong
opposed
with
to building
ads.
Relationships.
Sometimes ads can I mean, every one of these is an ingredient. Ads are an ingredient. Networking is an ingredient. Your technology is an ingredient. The operations and the systems that underpin your business is an ingredient. Like, these are all ingredients for the recipe. Um, how important is it to? I mean, some people will literally tell me all my business comes from referrals and networking, and then I'll talk to another person and they'll say networking and just having meetings and connecting with people and following up, this drains me and I need somebody else to do it. I can relate to both, and I think it's totally fine, and it's healthy to be self-aware and know who you are. Like, for example, many introverts don't want to go to crowded rooms, whether it's online or in person. What would you say to somebody who's a little bit more on the reserve side, and when they go to a room, their battery actually gets drained a little bit, like they expend energy and it's hard to get it back? What would you say to that person?
Well, I often talk about networking with a purpose, right?
Okay.
So if you know what you're looking for and who you're looking for and who you want to partner with, those power partners, right? Then you can put your energy towards something very specific. Okay, my goal when I come into a networking meeting, how many people do I want to meet? What's my goal? Maybe give yourself a number, right? Okay, I want 3 strong people out of this that I think are going to be fantastic power partners, right? And I've hit my goal for the day and I'm good, right? It's not about how many cards you collect. All right. That's
Okay.
not what it's about. But a lot of people will think that. But when I go to a meeting and I find 2 or 3 good people that were good, really good, strong synergy partners, I consider it a win. Right.
Okay, gotcha. So the days of the sales trainers telling you it's a numbers game, you just need to collect 100 conversations a day in one way, shape, or form, whether that's business cards, door knocking, online events, whatever the case may be, those that's not high level networking. That's the base level
That's
networking.
sales, but not networking. That's one of the distinguishing.
Yeah.
I want a numbers game becomes the sales side of it, right? If I have 50 cards, I can make this many appointments and get this many, closes and this many sales, right? So that's a sales side of it. Networking is, okay, I've got 50 cards, but which ones of these people are going to be really good partners for me that I can build a relationship that will not just send me one sale, but will send me multiple sales over time, right?
Okay, now you're talking power partnerships and
Yeah.
collaborative exchanges of value and synergy and all these keywords that networking professionals, businesses and experts in their field know instinctively how to do some of this, but let's take it to another level. So let's say you're an extrovert and you walk into a room and all of a sudden the electricity just starts running through your body and you're like a puppy and your tail is wagging everywhere and you're trying to meet as many people as possible. Are you saying slow down, read the room? Is this what you're kind of saying? Find out who the, let's say 5 or 10% of that room you're supposed to trade stories with, connect with, say hi to, sit at their table, follow, take a note of their name on it in an online event or whatever it is, and then decide from there? Or is it just follow up with everybody the same exact way? Or like, how do you do
All right,
that?
I'm going to teach you a secret. When I'm in person, and I usually have something with pockets in it. So I take the people that are the right people for me that I want to talk to, definitely more in depth, and they go in my right pocket because they're the right people.
Oh, okay.
And then the other cards, they're nice people, but they're not necessarily my best synergy partners. They go in my left pocket. So at the end of the night, I have a right pocket and left pocket. I know these are my top priorities and I need to make sure I do one-on-ones. And the other ones, if I have time and I get to it, or if I want to introduce them to someone else, or, I might bring that into the mix. But I definitely know the right from the left. And I'm not trying to make sense of it at the end of the night. I already have it already organized as I go.
Oh, super pro tip, Christine. I like this. Okay. So whether the room is like charging you up, and be careful not to get overcharged, right? You're like a battery. Like if you get frizzle fried, we got problems. Let's be really cool, calm, and collected and stay in that sweet spot. But also, if you're an introvert and you're getting drained, get extremely focused on the people you're supposed to connect with quickly. And that way there's a qualitative or a quality over quantity component to your game. So introverts, quick tip, quality over quantity. Extroverts, get focused, be careful of getting overcharged and spinning your wheels with too many people.
Prioritize who's important and keep them in a special pile.
Special pile for either one, introvert, extrovert. Okay, good. So quality needs to be part of the game as you develop and uplevel your work. Okay, so what about tools and tips? You already talked about tips of right pocket, left pocket. That's really, I'm gonna use that. I have some big events coming up next quarter, and I'm super excited. Actually, one of them's in your region, so I'm super excited about that. But what other tools or tips have you noticed to be helpful before and during and after the event? Let's just walk through it. Let's say you and I are going to an event in let's say Dallas, Texas, just randomly, just someplace, and there's 1,000 CEOs, and we have all some kind of affinity, whether they're people in a certain industry or a certain psychographic, or just an affinity group, and just a lot of people there. What, Christine, we walk in together as bros and bro and sis. Like, what do we do? What's the actual thing?
Well, and one of the things you'd mentioned, it just popped in my head when you were talking about the introverts. Take a buddy with you, right? So we're buddying up here. We're going together. So you're not alone, right? You got someone to keep you motivated, help keep you focused, depending if you're the high energy, the low energy, whatever. You got a partner there to help you through it, right? But before you even walk in, make sure you've got your business cards with you. Or if not, make sure you've got your electronic business cards, right? So make sure you've got that ahead of time so you're ready to go. And the other thing is I've intentionally not taken business cards before. I'm like, oh, I just ran out. I'm so sorry. What's your phone number? Here, I'm going to text you my contact. All right. So now I've got their number in my phone.
Yep. I'm going to rip off of this one. And different people do it differently, but here's something to consider. Take your business cards, but don't offer it until they ask for it. It's just a slight little tip, and it's just riffing off of what you were just saying. Like, yes, take your business cards. I have a poker chip that I bring as a business card, and it's unique enough that where somebody says, "Hey, you have a business card?" Like, we're here to network and connect, and like it's a cool event or whatever it is, right? And I go, "Yeah, but give me yours too." And then I hand them the poker chip or the business card that's like dialed in or whatever it is. I have both, but wait till they ask for it. And if the art of conversation isn't allowing you to do that, there might be some rare cases where you do actually give it to them, or you follow up with them in a different way and send them a digital business card after you find them on, online or something. But I like to go into a meeting. If I know ahead of time I'm going to a meeting, I'll connect with everybody within like 20 miles, 30 miles of that event, especially if it's a bigger event. And I'll connect with them on LinkedIn ahead of time. I'll find as many people in my first degree connections and possibly even second degree connections on LinkedIn. And I'll reach out to them saying, hey, are you going to this event? Question mark. It's a great pre-event strategy to just get you top of mind before you even walk into the room. You may or may not be the keynote speaker. Doesn't matter. The point, well, it kind of does, but the point is no matter whether you're speaking or you're attending, you can still use the same strategy, and they don't know the difference. They don't know if you're going to be like key part of the event or not. The point is you ask them a question, and you can do this on LinkedIn because of the geographical location filters, and just ask them, do you happen to be going to this event? I hear it's going to be great. I'm planning on going, just curious. And literally do a drip campaign beforehand, just making sure you're connected, if nothing else. And if they say yes, say, hey, I look forward to seeing you there. Keep it light. But then once you get there, it's on, because then now you have a list of people that you want to make sure and connect with because they responded to your little campaign. And you're not even putting on the event in this case. Like, you're just attending. Like, this is a brilliant pre-event strategy. Bring your business cards, do what Christine said. And then now what do we do? Okay, so we're at the event.
Well, so never go to an event alone. Invite people, right?
Invite people to where you're going to be. Okay.
It's an opportunity to build relationships and make people feel included. Oh, you thought of me. Thanks, right? It's not the mass. I put it on social media and whoever sees it, sees it. It's an actual invitation to that person specifically. Like you said, hey, I'm going. Would you like to go too? Are you going to go? Are you, right? Invite people to go with you. It makes them feel special. I just got a message just yesterday from somebody that was saying, hey, we're going to have a booth at this event. If you want to come by and say hi, I'm like, oh, let me see if I can add that to my calendar, right? It's a great way to excuse to reach out to people.
All right. So whether existing power partners and you want to roll in the room together, or whether it's you want to save a seat at a table for a few people, or whether you want to just make sure people know you're going to be in the room. Like, there's so many layers to that. That's amazing. Okay, so that's pre-event. And then at the event, bring the business cards. Wait for them to ask you, if at all possible. Ask them their story and ask for their business card, but don't sit there and pitch them and hand them a business card while you're talking to them. That's
so keep in mind that the point of the meeting, if it's prospecting, right, and you're looking at meeting power partners and that kind of stuff, you want to make sure that you're just testing the water enough to see, is this somebody I want to continue conversation with? Like, Timothy, I know you love the 10-minute phone call, right? Yeah. So when you think about that, this is your opportunity to see, is this somebody I want to have a further conversation with, or are they going in the left pocket, not the right pocket, right? So use this opportunity to just kind of gently get to know each other. Do you seem to have anything in common? Do you like their vibe? Do they seem like somebody you might want to work with, right? This is a chance to just kind of pre-screen them and decide if they're going to make it to the next level with you, because they may not, and that's okay too. They may not be the ideal person for you. So this is a screening process. Where are you going to invest your time? So don't get into big, long conversations. You know, I had somebody just ask me recently, they're like, once I start talking to them, I don't know how to escape.
I like to think of it as a mutual interview. Some people call it speed dating. I don't know if I'd go that far, but maybe it is. Maybe it is. It's mutual interview of some kind in a short period of time. So maybe it does feel like that sometimes. Okay, so in a business context, right? So now you're looking at these conversations. You're in the room. One of the things I like to ask, Christine, I'm sure you have a go-to 2 or 3 questions that you like to ask. I like to ask, how did you get to know about this event? Or how did you get to, if they mention their industry, how did you get to do what you're doing? Ask them some kind of question that helps them talk about themselves and their journey. to either the event or their industry. That tip right there is a really good conversation starter. And a lot of people get stuck at that. How do I just start the conversation? It's so nerve wracking. Like, especially if they're like one of the keynote speakers or like one of the, big coordinator people, or like they're a big deal in town. Like, how do I start a conversation? I'm so nervous. Christine, do you have any other tips of like just how to get people to really feel comfortable talking with you?
Yeah, it's showing interest, right? Like we said, building relationships. So the more that you can show interest in them, the more likely they're going to open up, right? Ask follow-up questions. Have your origin story ready. Start with theirs if you can pull it out of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did you, what do you do? Oh, how did you get involved with that? Right? Oh, I've always been curious about that. Whatever it is, right? Get them talking about themselves, right? That warms people up most of the time.
You said something. You said something. Write this down, ladies and gentlemen. Put it in the comments. Stay curious. Stay curious. Be curious.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in the comments, because that one mindset, you talked about mindset earlier, that
Mm-hmm.
one mindset, and you help me on mindset all the time. We help each other, and we help each other grow business. But we are power partners. So this is
Mm-hmm.
truly a fun byproduct of this kind of thing, right? This is actually the fruit of that, right? So be curious. When you're asking questions, wait for them to complete their thought at least. If you get excited, interrupt a little bit like Christine and I do sometimes, that's fine after you build the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But be very conscious of the fact that they are telling their story. They're telling you a little bit of they're giving you a piece of them. So if you're not curious, just start wrapping up the conversation slowly after they're done finishing their thought, and move on to somebody else that you might be curious about. Be real about these this is authentic networking. This is real deal relationship building.
It's building that relationship. It's investing in the other person. It's showing you're interested in what they have to say. It's being mindful of the moment, and all the noise and chaos around you. It's not there. At that moment, you are completely present with this person and inviting them to share who they are with you, right? So that they get to be the priority. The biggest gift you can give anybody is to make them your priority.
Come on, I like this. Okay, so you're networking, you're around in the room, business cards going left and the right, you're asking good questions. Another great question as you're wrapping up a conversation that I was just thinking about, maybe you have a couple of, an idea, Christine, too, but is, okay, boy, it's great meeting you today. Is there anybody else in this room I should connect with? And this can translate to other online events and different things too. But is there anybody else I should connect with if you're in person in this room? Is there anybody else I can introduce you to? Maybe you know a few people in the room. So somehow benefit them or ask them a question where they can either be helpful or be helped.
Now, who are you looking to meet? Maybe I can introduce you to somebody I've already met.
Come on, that's so good. I
Walk
love that
them over, introduce them, and say, okay, I'm going to leave you two to it. You guys have fun. That's a great way to exit too. If you're looking to get out of the conversation and move on to a new one, introduce them to someone else and pass them off.
That art of introducing or being curious and then introducing somebody else once you've gotten to know a little bit of their background is so powerful, because then that positions you as a not necessarily a thought leader at that point, because they don't know enough about you, but like as a networking professional. Like you know people that can benefit them. So why not what if they're doing the right pocket, left pocket thing? Now instantly you're in the correct pocket. Like you're in the place where they want to follow up with you. And then of course you're going to follow up with them if you feel like it's a good fit too.
And it's never a bad thing to plan next steps. Let them know what the next step is going to be, right? As I'm putting their card in my pocket, and be like, I'm putting you in the right pocket because that's where I put the people I want to talk to. And you need to expect a phone call from me. I'm going to give you a call tomorrow.
I like this. Oh, almost like you're
inviting them into your inner circle and letting them know that
the
they're
inner
special.
circle approach. So good, Christine. I'm glad we were able to talk about this, because I want to learn every day from people like you who get out there and they know what they're doing. They're not wasting a bunch of time. They're not just grabbing a few cocktails or a few drinks and just enjoying it. So social connecting is great, But if you go in with a purpose, like you said, it can be much more quality driven and purposeful. So I love that you said that earlier. Okay, so the event is over. You've met, let's say, 48 people.
Yep.
That's a
It's been known
lot.
to happen.
You just need to get back to your hotel or back to your office or back to your home and just take a nap, because that was a lot of conversations. Now, not every one of those people you had a full conversation. Some of them were pitching you, so you just cut them off and you took off. And look, that's a clue for both sides, right? Don't pitch people unless they literally are asking you,
Right.
what can you do to help my business in such and such way? Then you can let them know. But even then, you're not pitching. You're peppering that into a story. Hey, I helped one client do this. Maybe that's something we can talk about later. Does that sound good? Oh, yeah. We can't do it here, huh? No. We gotta. Well, I'll follow up with you. What do you have?
I want to make sure I can give you my undivided attention. And right now, there's so much background noise here. So let's definitely do a one-on-one.
Yep, and then they'll give you your business card if they're really interested, and then they'll ask you for yours if they're really interested too. So that'll be good. All right, so you have all these dozens of conversations you've had. You've got your 11 people in your right pocket. You got your 37 in your left pocket, whatever the number is, and you're going, boy, that was hard work. But wait a minute. Think about this, Christine. I view prospects as worth lots. Like if you put a monetary value on it, how much do you pay for prospects in your industry, in your business, in your particular venture? Some people will say, I pay $50 per lead. Some say, I pay $100 per introduction. Some say, I have high ticket items, so I pay $1,000 per referral. Even if I don't close them, I'll pay $500 just to say thank you, because I'm trying to sell a house. Like I'm trying to sell like a higher ticket thing. Like whatever it is, put a number on it, go in and say a success at this event, online or in person, at this event will be valued at X, let's say X amount of dollars. If each prospect's worth, let's say $50, just to make it easy. And I did 48. Do the math with me, Christine, on this, please. I know it's putting you on the spot. But
you're asking the wrong girl.
That's like almost $2,500.
Well, and people they'll buy leads, right? But the problem is if you bought the leads, someone else probably bought them too. So they're not just your leads, and they are not attached to you at all because they don't know who you are. You're literally cold calling at that point, as opposed to a networking room where not only have you gathered the leads, but they know who you are. They've smelled. And that's another thing. Put your face on your business card.
Come on.
Because I've literally been across the room and like, hey, and I'm like, call me, right? And they're like, pulled the cards out of their pocket, saw my face, saw me, like, got this card, right? And they're going to call me, right? Yep. So put your face on it. Make it easier for people to remember you.
Whether it's your digital or your physical business card, make sure your face is on these ways of communicating with each other. In our modern era, there's different styles of different ways of doing this in different rooms. You can even do it slightly differently, but make sure they can get to somewhere where your face
they want to recognize. So when you're after the event, right, you want them to still remember you, because if you've talked to 50 people that day, how are you going to stand out?
Come on, great question. Put it in the comments. How are you going to stand out, whether it's an online or in-person networking event or experience or luncheon or whatever it is? How are you going to stand out? That's a great question, Christine. Okay, so we got all these cards. We've separated them out. Now we're heading back to the office. We're exhausted, but we can either, pay for 25,000 cold, fairly cold leads and try to sift through them and get to the top 50, or we can go to an event like this and expend some energy, some time, and some energy and pay ourselves to do it. And there's nothing wrong with either one. If you're into the collecting leads for your database and you have like a very specific strategy around that, do that too. There's nothing wrong with that. We're just saying, if you are a lean, mean machine going to an event that you really want to connect with some people in a meaningful way and be authentic while you're there, because you will be invited to events. It's just what you do when you get there. That's the question. So we're solving that today, or we're helping you with that today. Okay. What do we do to follow up? Let's assume that you well, let's just start at some of the basics, Christine. What do you do?
Well, so for example, you've got this pile or two piles, right, of cards. So what are you going to do with them, right? Do they just go in a shoebox and you just keep collecting them and they use them to start fires in your fireplace or what, right? So what are you going to do with all these cards? If you know you're one of those people where you're like, they just sit there. And how do you know? Because you still have a pile from the last event that you haven't followed up on, right? So if you're one of those people, you might want to bring in some help. That might be a good use for a VA for you, right?
Okay.
Have somebody that can input them into the system and actually make use of them. Otherwise, you're just kind of wasting your time in a networking event if you don't follow up with anybody on the list.
Let's talk about whether a VA or an assistant, an associate, somebody else in the office, or you follow up with them. What is follow-up 101 after an event? Like, what do we do? I'm not saying it has to be in perfect order. I'm just asking, what are some of the main ingredients?
And the things you want to do is make sure that you're keeping track of who you're talking to. So I'm a big believer in CRMs. I don't care if you have a small business that's just you or whether you have a larger business, you need a way to organize things, because if you don't, they fall through the cracks, right?
What does CRM stand for?
What, customer relationship management tools, basically.
Yep,
So
yep.
Something along those lines. You could start with a free of something or a low cost one and build with you and grow with you. You got to be careful though. Some of them, the prices will really go up astronomically when you start getting past a certain amount of contacts, and they'll start charging you per contact. So preferably if you can find a program that lets you have unlimited contacts without punishing you for doing well in your business, that's always my favorite.
Hey, there's a few out there. So talk to Christine Deane if you want to learn more about that. Sometimes we mention tools on broadcasts and they deprecate or they change their pricing or they limit their access. And so we want to be careful. We might mention one or two, but just disclaimer, things are always changing. So talk to Christine to get the fresh new tools. Look her up on Facebook, look her up on LinkedIn, look her up on social media and just message her and say, I saw you on that broadcast. Can we talk about CRMs? All right. So customer relationship manager type tool that allows you to organize your prospects, your clients, and even folks that you do not want to connect with. Do not disturb, do not contact. You can actually label that, right? So you have your right pocket, left pocket people in your CRM. Maybe somebody else will find it valuable to connect with an insurance person about this or that. And you still have them in there, but it's very clear that they're tagged, keyword tagged, as somebody that you'll either do this, or this with, right? So,
but it's nice to tag their industries, at least this way, if you're talking to someone, they're like, oh, I really need to talk, like you said, an insurance person, you can be like, hold on a second, right? And you can search them, pull them up on your database, right? And I get requests for things all the time where they're wanting to meet realtors or they're wanting mortgage people or insurance, right? So it happens all the time for my synergy partners. So I love having them organized because that makes it so much easier. Now you get to add value and you're not spending all your time trying to find it. It's nice and easy to find. You mentioned tools. And so, HubSpot's one that's been around for a long time. And they do have a tool that I use where you can scan the business card. So I've got it on the phone. I can literally go, okay, I'm going to add a contact, hit create contact. Oh, scan business card is actually a line on here. And you literally put the business card down, take a picture of it, right? It puts all the information in there. It's actually gotten really accurate nowadays. So that's really nice. So now you're getting it into your database. So there's a lot of different programs that'll do that. So have something like that. If you're in person and you love to network, don't just let those business cards sit there and create a bonfire for you. Do something with them.
So you're saying the days of the shoebox and the paper Rolodex are kind of like, we got to take it to the digital world and kind of bring these conversations, these data points, these business cards, these at least the name and their URL from LinkedIn or somewhere where you can find information about them. And oftentimes you can just take basic information off of social media platforms. Mm-hmm. Maybe their phone number is up there. Maybe there's an email listed on one of their recent posts or in their contact information. Pop that right into your CRM so you have it forever. Okay, good. So,
but keep in mind, I'm warning you now, don't just start dropping them into your CRM and dropping them into this drip campaign and I'm going to put them in my newsletter. How many times have you Stop. Don't spam me. You don't have permission to spam me. Don't do that. Just because they gave you a business card does not entitle you to fill up their inbox with a bunch of spam. Establish a relationship with them. When you have that conversation, say, hey, if this is something you're interested in, you want to find out more about networking events, marketing tips, right? Do you mind if I add you to my newsletter? Is that something you'd be interested in? Because if not, then don't worry about it, because I don't need to send it out to you otherwise, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, yeah, that would be great. Or, I already get so much spam. Give them a graceful way to say no, rather than making them feel like they're mean. Give people an opportunity to be nice.
So if you have a system of follow-up, use that, but ask for permission is what I'm hearing from you, Christine. So
big time.
Ask for permission for you to follow up with them in a particular way. One of the things I love to do is take those people that I really want to connect with, and all of them are going into the CRM. I'm with you on that. The people I really want to connect with, sometimes before I even leave the online event or in-person event, I will try to reach out to them and send a message either through text message or LinkedIn, sometimes Facebook. That's just my preferred platforms of communication. So one of those, 3 ways of, hey, it was great connecting with you at such and such event. Are you open to a quick call in the next few weeks? I really enjoyed hearing about this. You can add some flavor into it if you want. Christine's helped me with that, kind of learning how to add more context. So that's really good to be able to immediately message them on the preferred method of communication that maybe they had mentioned, or that's on their business card, or you found them and it was easy to find them. Obviously, they're active on that platform, or they give you their cell phone number. You can text them as you're leaving the event. They're like, whoa, this person's serious. Like, they put me in their right pocket, and now they texted me, and that, like, this is going to be good. And they're just excited. Maybe they texted you even before you got to it. But the point is there's a call to action that's non-spammy. It's non-pitchy. It's relationship building. And that's my preferred method. It's just a quick phone call or a quick Zoom as a second step to that really fun 5-minute conversation that you had, sometimes more in a meeting, depending on what's going on.
And I'm going to say, definitely get your LinkedIn set up, updated, make sure it reflects what you're currently doing. I met somebody the other day in a conversation, somebody to introduce us, and we got to the point where we had the one-on-one, and I just loved what she was doing. Right. But when I went to her LinkedIn, she had like the corporate job that she had like 5 years ago, and she didn't have her current stuff that she was doing. And I was like, I can't really introduce you to anybody because they're going to get confused. And this is my playground of choice because I'm a networking professional, business professional. So I really need you to update that. And she's like, well, that's not a priority for me. I'm like, well, fantastic. When you do update it, let me know. I would love to introduce you to a few people. And I just left it there. She wasn't ready for me.
It's amazing how many times I've done the same thing, Christine, and I'm just riffing off what you're saying here. I've met somebody, they seem legit at a networking event of some kind or group, and I go to their LinkedIn profile, which usually has the most business related content on it of most platforms, and it's so out of date, like you're saying. I'm literally excited to introduce them to somebody, but I'll message them on LinkedIn or in text message or in a phone call. I'll tell them, I was about to introduce you to somebody, and I just couldn't do it because it would be embarrassing for you, and it would be embarrassing for me. I just couldn't do it because my brand is it's developed enough to where I can't risk that anymore. But once, I'm just riffing off what you just said. Once you update that, here's a little guide, or talk to Christine, or talk to so-and-so, or let's do it right now, like whatever, like let's just get it done, at least some basics. Then I'll be able to go ahead and make introductions. Do you have any questions for me? And inevitably they're going to be like, A, how can you help me get that done? B, who can I introduce you to? Because you were thinking about me, how can I do that? And there are ways around it, but there's something magical about a social media 3-way conversation that brings it's a higher level, higher trust factor introduction. I still do text messages. People send me email introductions all the time. But it takes quite a bit of work now to go figure out who this person is, what their background is, and somebody has to type a novel in order to even like make it make sense. And it still does work. It's just there is a better way to network, and there is a better way to follow up, and there is a better way to make sure that you're spending time with the right people. So I appreciate you mentioning that. Okay, so after the event, you're basically following up with the certain people in one way, asking permission, of course, for if you're going to add them to any kind of newsletter or any kind of follow up that might get into their inbox on any significant level. Okay, that
Well,
makes sense.
put it on your calendar, right? So if you know you're going to networking event at this time, slot some stuff either that day or the next day on your calendar for follow up. Literally
Okay.
put, follow up from such and such event, right?
That's
Put
really
it
good.
on your calendar to make sure it happens.
I like that. So put it on your calendar pretty quickly. It sounds like in your world, which makes sense. That some of us, you don't have a lot of time uh, during or right after the event to do all your proper follow up. You got to do a really significant level of the folks so you don't miss any of that gold that was there in that room, right? So okay, so schedule the follow up. Love that. What about like, do we schedule like 2 weeks later to revisit like what happened with all those people? Like, what do you recommend?
Well, so never leave a meeting without having the plans for the next step.
Okay, that's
So
good.
if you do that follow-up appointment and you're like, hey, we'd love to talk, and they might send you a booking link, or I always say like your booking link or mine, right? So whatever makes everybody happy, you get on somebody's calendar, you have that conversation before you get off that call, right? You got to decide, what do I want to do? Where does this person fit into my world? Okay.
Okay,
So am I going to talk to them again in 2 weeks? Am I going to talk to them monthly? Is this a good partner I want to catch up with quarterly? What's the next steps? So have that in mind before you finish the conversation. This way you can always set that up and be ready
okay.
to roll for the next one. If you're just like, oh, it's great getting to know you, bye-bye now. One and done. That's it.
Put that in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. Always know the next step if things go well. Always know the next step. Period. If things go well, or if they don't go well, probably. But especially if things go well, always know the next step. Know where you want to develop this relationship. It's kind of like the good old fashioned dating relationship. You're not going to random places at random times and random ways and meeting random people. Like, you want to know, like, how do we create a quality conversation here? How do we really get to know each other? How does this actually develop in a healthy direction, not in a random direction? So there's some principles there I think that can apply to anybody listening. All right, as we wrap up, Christine, what else do we need to know? We've talked about before, during, after. There's a tool that I've come across for all the go high level um, aficionados and those who like to use go high level suite of software services. There's something similar for Zoho as well, where you can scan a business card. But you mentioned scanning business card earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna mention, as of right now, as of this recording, there's a tool called Biz Connect, B-I-Z, the word connect, that ties in and scans your business card at extreme accuracy, like Christine was talking about. It's got a lot better now.
Mm-hmm.
It goes right into what Go High Level calls Lead Connect. Is that right?
Lead connector, yeah.
Lead Connector. Yeah, that's right. And then that will automatically end up in your CRM. You can also save that same contact to your phone if you happen to have like Google this and then CRM this, and they're trying to communicate, but they don't always catch everything. Some people like to do that. BizConnect allows you to do both and so you can choose how you want to do that depending on where you are with all that. There's other, like I said, Zoho CRM has it built in as well, I believe. Yeah, it's a Zoho scanning tool if I remember right. There's other major platforms that all you have to do is Google and find out, can I scan a business card into this CRM? I think that's a big deal. I think it's just a bit like, and some of these, it's not even that you're scanning the business card, it's that you got their name, you found their social media profile, you know something about them, maybe even a phone number, and you can manually put it into these same tools, and it will go bing and go everywhere into your CRM, into your whatever you chose the preferences for. So that's a really cool tip that you had earlier, Christine. I wanted to kind of
And there's another little secret. Let's say you have a couple of salespeople, right? And you've got a sales team, which is fantastic. You're growing, you're scaling, right? There's ways to put that, let's say, a landing page just for that particular salesperson, and they can put the contact information, have it start triggering messages. Right. So it could go in and trigger, hey, it was great meeting you at the event today. Would love to follow up and have more conversations with you and see how we can help each other. Here's my booking link, right? And you can have it set up in the CRM so that all they do is fill that out and it automatically starts sending the text message, the email, asking for those connections. So there's ways to systemize it when you've got a larger group and a sales team.
I love that. The questions at the time of booking on these schedulers are really interesting. Maybe a conversation for another day, but you just hinted at it. And often, I'll say this, oftentimes as you're following up after an event or whatever you're doing, really at any point in time, as you're following up and you're opening up your calendar to them so that you can have a part 2 of a conversation or even a part 3. And I use that language, by the way. It's super powerful. It's super helpful, and it's very authentic. Sometimes the questions you want to ask before you book the meeting are actually questions you can put in the scheduler as they're booking the meeting. So timing on this is so key. If you think of it like a dating relationship, there's just certain questions you ask early in the relationship, and there's certain questions you ask as you're developing the relationship, and there's certain questions, really important questions you ask later in the relationship, which leads to these commitment type conversations, aka sales meetings, aka decision meetings. So now we're talking about how this all sets the stage for a natural, organic, authentic, and extremely valuable sales conversation later or decision meeting later. And by the way, be open to them asking you for commitment on certain things. It's a mutual commitment that starts developing here. So like, for example, Christine and I met through a mutual connection a long time ago, and we started working together. And there was this, hey, will you help me with this? Yes, if you help me with this. Okay, then let's help me with this. Okay, but I need you to help me with this. And then, okay, well, I guess we're power partners, so why don't we just work on projects together? And why don't we? And you develop these 4, 5, 10 power partners early in the game, and it expedites your growth later on. So these networking events and connections, and it becomes literally a strategy for some, and if nothing else, an extremely important ingredient to your strategy at the very least. So, Christine, you want to wrap us up today? I think this is a really good topic.
Yeah, if anybody's got more questions about this and they want to integrate more networking techniques into their business, reach out. We've got people that can give you a hand with that. I know that's one of my things that I love to do, even tools within LinkedIn and how to get warm handshakes and introductions. I've got power partners that literally, will do the reach out for you and set you up in appointments. I mean, so there's so many different ways to do it, just depending on what works with your business and your business model. But if you're not incorporating networking into your business, you're missing out on an opportunity to really build a relationships, build a community around what you're doing and your support system.
Excellent. I will say for those who get a little bit exhausted from too many networking meetings, ask yourself, are the right people in that room? Mm-hmm. And start removing the ones that don't fit anymore into your priority list. And some meetings you can accomplish just as much going to once a month as you can once a week. You just have to be very strategic, very authentic, and very skilled at what you're doing. But it saves you literally tens of hours a month if you do it right. So be encouraged. You have Christine in your corner. Myself, if you have any questions, I'll probably just point you to Christine. But Christine Deane is somebody you want to look up. Use some of these principles right now that we just taught you and follow up with Christine. go reach out, find her on LinkedIn, find her on Facebook, find her somewhere on online and say, hey, I saw your broadcast. I'm following up with you. You told me to follow up with you. So here I am. Mention the word giver and she'll know exactly what's going on, because she likes to give extra bonuses and blessings and gifts to those who mention certain broadcasts, especially this one. And so reach out to her right now and she'll be able to connect with you, some resources. There's some other resources like My Most Trusted that's
I
connected
love that one.
to LinkedIn specifically. There's other tools that we didn't even mention today that Christine has so much. You talked about having a team kind of help follow up. Some of those resources are right. And
right. If your business lends itself to building relationships in the community and you're a local brick and mortar, and that's an important part of your business, you don't want just a basic sales force. You want a sales force that's trained in networking also. So they're building relationships throughout the community in addition to your old fashioned sales techniques. So you want to do next level, right? So you might want somebody to come in and help train your salespeople in networking. And I've done that before. It's important strategy as part of your business. So just kind of look at the possibilities. What can this do for my business? And have that conversation. It's totally worth it.
Great job. Christine, today was so fun to be able to just pick your brain and kind of riff off of some of the expertise, the talents, the abilities that you've honed over the years, and whether somebody wants to take this as a full-on strategy or just take their ingredients and put a little bit of extra of this ingredient into their business so that it pops, so that it really starts growing into the next quarter and beyond. I just appreciate your insights, your wisdom, your expertise. And you are the networking diva, so why not talk about this? All right, blessings, guys. We'll see you soon. Let's talk about, real quick before we leave, Wednesday. Speaking of networking, Wednesdays, we have an opportunity for you to practice, for you to get in the room, especially if you're a marketing, communications, media professional who wants to be a part of a safe conversation that allows you to partner up with others, talk about white label scenarios, talk about sharing revenue, talk about working on larger projects together, playing a different game where your company can become really a sought after brand that has multiple resources and connections associated with it. Christine's really good at that. So you want to connect with her on Wednesdays as she leads that meeting. And it's super low key. It's almost like office hours or happy hour, depending on what part of the world you're in, I guess. But go to givermarketing.com/networking. That's our website /networking. And Christine will just light you up. It's going to be a great time to be able to connect. Christine, anything else you want to add as we wrap up?
I love Wednesdays. I love Tuesdays. I just smile on your face all week long. You get to come play with Giver Marketing Network. And, I'm just going to drop that little sneak peek that, we've got our summit coming up soon.
Good point.
Our marketing
It's always a summit, right? Always a summit coming up in January. Always a summit.
It is. It's our annual summit. So save the date. So write down January 14th. That's a Tuesday, January 14th. And mark that aside on your calendar that you want to come hang out with us. We're going to have a lineup of 10 plus speakers, marketing experts in all sorts of different fields. So that's our little drip right now, letting you know, save the date. It's coming up and it's going to be a lot of fun.
If you're listening to this recording later on, it's always the second Tuesday of January. So mark that date even ahead of time if you're listening to this recording at a later date. But mark second Tuesday in January, and we're going to rock and roll together, invite you to the party, and have lots of fun networking, connecting, and learning as we go. So God bless you guys. Talk to you soon. That was fun, Christine. Really appreciate it.